folks, thanks for clicking on my first ever video. I want to share my journey in learning how to make creative and beautiful work in wood and epoxy. This is only the second table I've made. I make a lot of mistakes, but this is about learning, having fun, creating, and making something hopefully beautiful. So let's get started. So I'm making a table for a friend out of walnut. I'm just taking a look here at the grain of the pieces that I bought. You can see there's a lot of figure into it. I love that kind of look on the wood. The more character, the better. Just beautiful. Just taking a look at the measurements and the layout. I'm thinking he wants it to be about 56 to 60 inches long and about 24 to 30 inches wide. This is a coffee table. It's going to be a big coffee table. And here you can see I'm moving my router sled into place using the cart that I made. This is handy. Got the idea from a YouTube video. Put casters on it, and yeah, this keeps me from breaking my back. So here I've got the pieces of walnut on the router sled. I'm just kind of laying it out again. It's kind of getting an idea for what size I could possibly get out of this and how I want to trim it up in the end. I thought it would also be neat to take some scraps that I had of the walnut, place it in between the two larger pieces, add some feature to it. So then we get to flattening, and I'm using a router bit with indexable cutters on it. I used one on my first table that had just fixed blades on it, and they wear down quick, and it dulled, created problems. So I thought, hey, maybe this will work better. And so here we go, flattening. I'm not taking too much off at one time, just a little bit. Can make multiple passes on it. And we flatten. Flatten, and we flatten some more. So I actually got to make several passes on both the top and the bottom of each piece, kind of getting it flattened out. Here I wanted to show how I get the router sled off of the table using the cart that I made. Easy and no trip to the chiropractor. So this is a mold that I tried to make. Set it up so that you could have a lot of different variations in sizes of table. You can see all the holes there Those are threaded inserts, and I can adjust where my rails go to make different size mold. Here I'm setting up one of the rails. I'm using little brackets to fasten them to the table. And I'm putting a bracket every so often just to give it some stability. After measuring it up, it's time to trim off the ends to get it to the right size. Now that the slabs are trimmed to size, we can start putting in the other two sides of the mold. I wanted to clean up the pieces that I was putting in between the two slabs, kind of give them a little bit more character as well. And here I'm just cleaning up the edges of the slabs, taking off a little bit of the bark, getting it ready for epoxy. And here's the whole thing laid out. Kind of having to suspend some of the pieces above the table because they're not as thick as the slabs. Thought this was a pretty good idea. Just keep them up in the air, pour epoxy, should be good. And now I'm getting ready to pour. I'm using epoxy deep pour epoxy. And the rain went into the epoxy. No problem, dig it out. I'm adding 50 grams of Sendai Gray mica from Eye Candy Pigments to about 3 liters of epoxy. Mixing it up gives a nice effect. And now we're pouring into the mold. Oops, I had one fall off. Here you can see the swirl effect that you get with this Eye Candy Sendai Gray mica. So to get this effect, I ended up having to do a final pour at about a 1/4 inch thick, and then monitor it sometime between 20 hours and 30 hours after the pour. It has to gel up. Otherwise the mica is going to settle and you'll lose the swirl effect. So you have to get it when it's pretty thick, say around 28 hours, and swirl it to get that pattern into the epoxy with the mica. And after it sets up, we turn it over and we're going to flatten it some more. Put new index cutters on it and we flatten. And we flatten. And we flatten some more. Turn it over and do it all over again. I think it's important for each side that you flatten to change the index cutters on the router bit, just to make sure that you're getting a nice smooth cut. And here it is, flattened out. And at this point, we're going to cut it to its finished size. I really do need a good workbench. Now we go and we put an edge on it. Used a round over, a large, about a 1/2 inch round over on the top, and just about a 1/4 inch round over on the bottom. Now comes the sanding. I'm going to go through, start at about 80, then to 120, 180, 220, and then 320. And we sand. We sand. We sand some more. Here what I'm doing, I 3D printed a jig to inlay an aluminum bar. I want to epoxy this bar into the table, drill and tap it to hold the legs on. And here I'm just putting the epoxy in to hold the aluminum plate in place. I'm going to drill and tap the holes for 1/4 screws to attach the legs. And this is finishing the bottom of the table. I'm using a wipe-on oil-based polyurethane, And this is the finished product. Not too bad for my second table. I really enjoyed making this table. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and that's what it's all about. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe, or subscribe and like, whatever you want to do. Make it a great day, and go out and create something.